the image in their minds of how they see themselves. If they attack you verbally, they feel attacked. That has nothing to do with you. So, how do we deal with that? Chances are we've come across that person many times and we have a history with them. And so, because we have a history with them, we tend to have an inner conversation. We tend to speak to ourselves and say, oh, I can't stand them. Every time I see them, it's the same thing. See that part? Once you engage in that inner conversation with them about what you would say to them, oh, you're projecting it outward. You are literally calling them over time and space to come for you. But here's how we can turn it around. The same way we started it, by way of that inner conversation. So instead of hearing them cuss you out, instead of hearing them, as we say in the Caribbean, having talk for you, instead, decide upon what you want to hear coming out of their mouths. Simply decide upon that. How do you want them to speak to you? Mm, that is what you rehearse instead of the other type of conversation. You see, every problem has the seed of the solution within it. Day in and day out, that will never change. So if you find that the way you speak to yourself in that inner conversation, the part you think that is invisible, nobody hears it. You think that nobody hears? Nobody needs to hear it. The law of vibration will tell you. Hmm? It makes you feel a particular way. Yes? That is the same force that you are projecting it out of your body with. We don't see necessarily the vibrational projections, but let's not get it twisted. It is there. And the law of rhythm tells you the same force you projected outward with is the same force it has to come back with. It is called compensation. They always have to match. Remember the law of correspondence. As above, so below, as within, so without. They must match. So if you have that inner conversation with any measure of vitriol, that person that you were conversing with, or someone similar, will come right back at you with that conversation. So sticks and stones, that's all they are. They are only sticks and stones. It doesn't matter how long you've known this person, how long you've never gotten along with them, that is irrelevant. If you change the inner conversation, then the outer representation, the corresponding thing, will fall in line to match it. You see, we've got to get through this thing that says, oh, we're helpless. No, not by any stretch of the means. None whatsoever. We are powerful. So today, if you have that person or persons or situation in your life, and you're always wrestling with it, change your inner conversation. What do you want that conversation to go like instead when you meet up with this person? Oh, but Angela, you don't know. You don't know this person. You don't know the hell they've put me through. Hmm? We don't have to know the hell they've put you through. The question is, you want to keep going through the hell or you want to change that part? Well, then begin by recognizing the what? Inner conversation. You're the one that gives power to the sticks and stones. Oh! We are the ones who give power to the sticks and stones when we do what? Entertain them by way of that inner conversation. By way of that inner conversation. So today, it doesn't matter who that person is. It doesn't matter. All that matters here and now is, what do you want to hear when that conversation comes around, or that opportunity presents itself for you to interact? That's what matters. What is that conversation? The same way that you can rehearse the, you know, you make me, the same way that you can rehearse that, you can also rehearse the other part. This is what it is. It's as simple as that. We don't have to fret. Cynthia, we don't have to fret and fuss about things. No. Get in your mind. Let that be your first course of action. To get in your mind and say to that situation, polarity, where do we want to be at? Where do we want this to go? Let that be your instinct. It becomes the instinct because we're going to program it to be the instinct. Anytime you find yourself in a situation, get into your inner eye. Get in there, inside. And tell it like it is. Tell it the way you want it to be, y'all. Instead of allowing it to be the way it has always gone. The way it has always gone is just practiced behavior. So in order to allow new behavior to emerge, well, you have to practice the new behavior. This is where we modify our behavior to bring about the new outcome. That's what we do. Modify that behavior. Because what is behavior influenced by? Behavior is influenced by how you believe yourself to be. Man, I can't make no friends. This is hard. I'm such a wallflower. Well, then, what must you become? The lonely wallflower. Because you think you can't make friends. I wonder why you think that. Well, nobody's ever stuck around to be my friend. What does that have to do with you? Yes, it might sting, but the behavior of a person tells you about them. The behavior of a person tells you who they are, who they believe themselves to be. It's as simple as that. So that's why when somebody comes out with, fists flying and words flying, what are you going to do about that? You're going to quickly assess the situation, and you'll say, oh, that sounds like a you problem. You'll say that to yourself, sounds like a you problem. Because it's them, right? I mean, you're looking at them, they are what? That's their problem. Coming out of their mouth. Sticks and stones. But them is fighting words. If you allow them to be fighting words. They cannot be fighting words if you know that out of the abundance of the heart the mouth speaks. You see that part? They don't have power over you. They don't have control over you unless you relinquish it. Unless you relinquish your control. And remember what it is called. Self. control. Not George control. Not Karen control. But self control. It is yourself. Yourself. You are the one who will decide if sticks and stones have the power to hurt you. You. This is what it is all day, every day. I know the longer we've dealt with an issue, the harder it becomes to change it. Only because that's what we're telling ourselves. Right? That's only because what we're saying to ourselves. But remember that it's only a habit. And what is a habit? A habit is any behavior, any word, or any thought that you repeat the same way every time. So, does a habit rule you? Or is the habit programmed by you? So where does the power lay? With the habit or with you? So if you've always engaged in the sticks and stones, consider today not participating, because you now have a better comprehension of what they are. And if somebody's used to fighting with you, we know they'll show up, because habitually you've called them. My grandmother used to say something. She used to say, I didn't send for you. I didn't send for you. Meaning when you interact with someone, right? Chances are, because there's 8 billion people on the planet, we are running parallel to one another. But if you have that inner conversation in your head, you are sending for them. You are calling them through time and space to come for you. Well, how? Because of the inner conversation. We are so good at that, aren't we? We sit there and we're like, oh, if I see you, I'm going to tell you what I think about you. I will tell you how I feel about you. And then when they show up, we want to say, how did you get here? Right? We'll say, how did you get here? Because you called me. That's why. So if you have that argument in your head, take a moment to fast track to the Rolodex of your mind, and you'll see where you argue. You'll see it clear as day. When you see it, you cannot unsee it, because you're squarely looking at your behavior. That creates tension unnecessarily in your life. That's not what we want, is it? Then stop engaging in these sticks and stones conversations in your mind, in your memories, in your brain, because that's what you're doing. Is that what you want? No. Well then, begin to have the inner conversation you would prefer. Oh, but Angela, that makes me feel like I'm crazy, talking to myself. You are already talking to yourself. It doesn't matter which conversation you decide to have, you are already speaking to yourself. Because that's how we roll. We talk to ourselves. Right? And when we begin talking to ourselves, it's like that practice. The more you speak to yourself, remember, anything you practice, you become a pro at it. Just the way it is. So sticks and stones, the opinions of other people, are simply telling you who they are. The opinions of other people are telling you who they are. So we can either decide to engage, or we can say, oh, sounds like a you problem. You can whisper that to yourself. Sounds like a you problem. Hope you get past that and keep it moving. But remember, once you've kept it moving, do not, isn't that, where's cyber? When there in that scripture it says a dog returns to his own vomit, don't return to that old conversation you used to have. Do not return to the old conversation that you used to have. Then you go back to the old conversation. Because you've been having the old conversation for quite some time, because you've been having the old conversation for a long time, it is a strong conversation. So it starts to, because it has so much momentum behind it, it'll bring you that conversation on the outside. Remember the law of correspondence: as above in your inner conversation, so below in your physical experience. You know this as well as I because you've seen it happen. Cute, it could have been yesterday. That's why I'm telling you this morning. Sticks and stones can only hurt you if you allow them to. Oh, Angela, I know you've lost it now. Think about it for a moment. Reason it out in your mind. If you continually engage in a particular strain of inner conversation, sooner rather than later, you will begin to experience it on the outside. It is law. So now here's the solution for your inner conversation problem. You are already speaking to yourself. Change the conversation. That's it. You want it to be more complex? You are already speaking to yourself on a daily basis. The only thing is to decide the conversation you're having. That's it. No sense in fretting and cussing yourself out and beating yourself up. Think about that part. We're out here in these streets talking about, oh my God. And so, like, I have so many problems. How come this always happens to me? Right, see, that's what we do. That inner conversation. What inner conversation would you prefer to have? Then start having it. Why? Because you know that every time you engage in an inner conversation with any amount of passion, just even a sliver of a good time, but then you know you're going to encounter it on the outside. You know, when you're creating something, you know, and you have an inner conversation, sometimes that inner conversation can be, well, I don't know if this is going to work. You see, use that one person that, always has something to say. Use them because that's more real to you. What would they say if they came across you in your new situation? They never usually have anything nice to say. So what would they say if they saw that you were successful? Have that conversation, because you know what that conversation denotes? I don't always encourage that part, but if it is easier for you, go with it. If it's easy for you to argue in your head, have the conversation that denotes your success. What would that person say about you? What would they whisper to somebody else about you? Oh my God. Did you see her? Look at all those testimonials. Every time I go somewhere, somebody's saying how awesome they are, how great their business is going, and they're always recommending them to somebody else. Just the other day, somebody recommended her to me, as if I would go. Look at her out here in these streets, all pompous like. Because that's how they see you, right? That's how they see you. All because your business is booming and thriving. Yes. If that kind of an attitude works for you, go with it. Because it denotes, it proves to you your success. We call them haters. How would your haters say things about you? They may not say it to your face, but you'll hear it through the grapevine. Yes. Why? Because the inner conversation always works. The inner conversation is how you believe yourself to be. And how you believe yourself to be is how you'll speak to yourself, and then that's how you'll behave. And this is part of the reason why I don't always like recommending having an inner argument with someone, a hater, even though they're proving to you your success. Look at what you're cultivating within you when you do it. That's why I don't like it. But I say, however, if that inner conversation is more realistic for you, because that's actually what would happen. Yes? What would happen if all of a sudden you became successful? Would your biggest supporter, your biggest fan be the one in your ear first? Or would you hear about your success through the grapevine from your haters? Which one is more natural? Well, then that's the one you'd go with. But then I caution you, change it. Don't thrive from an argument. Because if you practice thriving from an argument, that is how you're going to have to behave. And we don't want that. We want inner peace, don't we? We want to be able to move through the world with just tranquility. Yes? That's the whole point this morning. That sticks and stones. Because you know we come across them all the time, don't we? Oh, we do. Listen, the day somebody decides to pick up the phone and call you and say, hey, let me tell you why I not like you. I say it like that because that's how they said it to me. When they tell you that, and you forget every law that you ever learned, and you drop down to that vibration, shoot. Why? Because you allowed sticks and stones to influence you instead of the law. See, I can laugh about it now, but when I was balls deep in it, I did not remember one thing. So don't think that I don't get it. I most certainly do. But the beauty of the law is this: it always redeems when you recall it, when you remember. Because you can change your situation. Remember, the situation is pliable. It's like silly putty or like Play Doh. You can shape it, you can shape your situation. This is the power that you hold between the ears. Hmm. You know when your grandmother used to ring your ears and say, use these? Jeez. Use them, she would say, which means listen and remember what you hear so that you don't make the same mistake over and over and over again. So you see, today, sticks and stones don't have any power over you. They really, truly don't. Let us take a moment, shall we, to welcome everyone into the space this morning. In one hand, we've got Twitter. Hello, L. Geck. Jeff. I see you all. Welcome to the space, my beautiful friends. It's Tuesday. It's so good to see you. In the other hand, we have Fanbase. Who's all here? Ro is here. Terms is here. Oracle Treehouse, Comrade, Miss McQueen, Flo Smiles, KZ, Yolanda, Zola. You are here this morning. How lovely it is to see you. Oh, it sure is. It really is good to see you all. Reading this, blah, blah, blah. I see it. Many a man thinks he's buying pleasure when he is really selling himself to it. Oh, oh, I just read that. Well, isn't that profound? It is. Who's here on Facebook? Indy. And now who's here on YouTube? Well, the ones in the chat. Sherelle. Ayapo. Hello, David. Sugar Visions. Omnipresent, are you? Marjorie. Shea Butter. Marcia. Cynthia, darling. I trust Olivia as well. Goddess Pure Diamond, the Better Man, and A Not. Welcome all for being here. Ayapo mentions, he says, if we could only understand the power of self-talk. Negative people say being positive all the time is unrealistic. I counter with, isn't being negative all the time equally as unrealistic? Well, being negative all the time is more tiresome. It's more tiresome. Yeah, because think about it. That negative self-talk brings about the negative interactions. And they just leave you exhausted, don't they? They leave you exhausted. But positive self-talk, as they say in church, the talk that edifies, that lifts your spirit, breathes life into you. So yes, Ayapo, you are absolutely correct. You see, too many of us run around with the talk in our heads. And the funny thing is, we don't even know when we're doing it. Most of the time, we don't know that we're doing it. But here's a clue. Because remember, it is thought, word, and then the action. If you do not know the predominant thought, the incessant thought that you're having, if you don't know that one, listen to your words. Your words will correspond to the thought. But if you are not listening to your words, your body will tell you how you feel. I remember in clinic when someone would come in, like literally speaking, their shoulders are so far up under their ears, they don't know that they're up there. They're so tense. But the minute you insert a needle into trapezius, gallbladder 21, right there, it's like a brick. Why? Because their shoulders are so tense and raised so far up under the ears. Here's a brief exercise to help you comprehend this. Take a nice deep breath in through the nose and then let your body sag. After that, inhale nice and deep through the nose, and when you exhale through the nose, let the body sag. Let it sag. And you'll feel it. Feel it in your shoulders. Not because I'm a magician. No, but I understand the way the body is. The body will correspond to the thought you're having. So that means if you allow somebody to come along and say something to you and you're like, oh, my feelings. Come now. Remember, they don't have power over you. They most certainly do not. Remember that and live by it. You can simply whisper to yourself, sounds like a you problem. When they're talking, sounds like a you problem. I learned that from my son. When I asked him to do something, he goes, mommy, it sounds like a you problem. I said, it what now? He goes, I'm kidding. I'm like, well, it wasn't funny. We have this whole dialogue between us. But that's where I learned it from. You've got to be able to discern that when someone is telling you, when they say, I don't like you, how is that your problem? They're telling you about themselves. And you have the option to be entertained by it, or to say, the party you're trying to reach is currently unavailable. Those are the two options available to you. So use the one that fits best. You see, if you begin practicing that part, people are going to talk because they have mouths. They got these tongues in their mouths and they're always wagging. But what does that have to do with you? But Angela, you don't know the type of person they are. You don't know the rumors they spread about. Remember, if the inner conversation is the problem, then the inner conversation is the solution. Simply change the dialogue. If you're hearing through the grapevine what they're saying about you, well, then begin to hear what you want to hear being whispered about you. Oh, come. Don't talk about her like that. She is totally not like that. You don't know her. That's what you hear. Yes, hear it. Listen, if somebody's going to spend their time gossiping about you, Bonnie Raitt said it best. Let's give them something to talk about. Put the words in their mouth. How do you get the words in their mouth? By projecting them out of your mind. So that means you have to have the inner conversation with what you want to hear about yourself. Don't be afraid of the gossip about you. No. Hear what you want to hear about yourself. This, if you remember to do it, will change your world. Why will it change your world? Because you're the one with the power. That's why. Sticks and stones don't have the power over you. How can they? They're sticks and they're stones. But the moment you entertain the unsavory inner conversation, now you are self-inflicting your own pain. So, what are you going to do with that? Are you going to allow that to continue? We're not boxers up in here. So we don't fight the world. We don't shadow box. Because that's what we're doing every time we go out there and we try and force somebody to like us, or, we're fighting a shadow. Listen, it's just like smoke in the air. Go back to the inner conversation. That is where your power is. Modify that inner conversation. Rehearse that inner conversation, because in actuality, that's what you're really doing. Every time you have an inner conversation, you are rehearsing the way you want to behave upon the stage of life. You know how many actors will tell you that? Actors will tell you they rehearsed their Oscar speech. The minute they heard that they were nominated, they start to rehearse their speech. That's what they do. They rehearse the speech. So what are you rehearsing in your head on a daily basis? If you are rehearsing the poor me, And it's funny, we don't say poor me. We don't say it like that. Oh no, we're much more convincing. See this person? They don't like me. If I see you today, I'll tell you what I think about you. And then when they show up and you get the opportunity to say how you feel about them because you cuss them out, you have forgotten what you did. And you think, oh, what a coincidence. But it's not a coincidence. We are always rehearsing our behavior on the stage of life. You know, we've heard it. The world is a stage and we are all actors upon it. There is merit to that. So you see, the inner conversations that you have with yourself, you are simply rehearsing how you're going to behave. So if it is a problem, then the solution is to change the tone of the conversation. That's what you do. Because when you see the problem, you're now privy to the solution. Clearly. So that is your encouragement this morning. You do not allow the random words out of the mouth of someone else to influence you. Especially, when they lean towards the negative. That is no way to live. That is exhausting. Because every time you think of that person, you go, ugh, I gotta deal with them today. That's what we say. Pay attention and you'll see your behavior. And when you catch it, you now know how to fix it. Change the inner conversation you're having. That is the solution. It's the biggest problem we have as people. You're sitting in the car in the parking lot before you walk into your office. And you're like, oh man, if I see Karen today, I can't handle Karen. You're sitting, the moment, I'll give you the perfect example. You ever thought of somebody and the phone rings and, oh my God, I was just thinking about you. See, when you think about a person, you are calling them. Oh, yes, you are. So don't call somebody you don't want to interact with. Why? You want to fight? Come on. Nobody wants to live like that. It's exhausting. So remember, don't call the name of someone you don't want to have a conversation with. Because believe you me, as they say in the Caribbean, believe you me, if you call their name and it's somebody you really cannot stand, as soon as you get off the elevator or pull that door open, they're right there. How many times has that happened to you? That's my point. Sticks and stones. They do not have the power over you. What has power over you is the way you believe yourself to be and the way you speak to yourself and the way you speak about yourself. That is what has the power over you. That has the power over you. Nothing else. Because that's your own power that you're wielding. Day in out, day in and day out. Exactly, Ayapo. I expect people who don't gossip about themselves to themselves. Don't gossip about others. Well, this is true. That inner conversation, you're not busy talking about them. You're busy enjoying your life. That's what you're doing. Remember some of those movies where they show you what's going on in the mind of someone? And the person who's least bothered by things, in their mind, they're either running through a field of daisies or they're doing something totally just abstract. They're just enjoying themselves. They're just busy. I've seen it in a cartoon where the person is sitting next to their dog and they're thinking about all these things, but the dog is just, there's nothing on its mind other than looking out onto that field sitting next to their owner. That's all they're doing. They're at peace. Begin to practice a state of inner peace. Your conversations will tell you if you are having inner peace on the inside. But if you are walking around with sticks and stones on the inside, the law of correspondence tells you, well, as above, so below. If above in your mind you have sticks and stones, well then, in the world, you will have to encounter sticks and stones. It's as simple as that. You see, the law is telling us day in and day out that things are simple. And because, we are human and we are who we are, we say, no, it's not. You don't know my life. That's what we say to the law. But the law just says, the all is mind. Your universe is a mental creation. So you're trying to tell me, listen, I've said that to people. And they say to me, so you're trying to tell me I'm doing this to myself? And I inhale nice and deep and I say, yes. But not in the way you think. Because you have to soften that blow a little bit, yes? It's a hard thing to come to terms with. It's a hard pill to swallow. So you got to honeycoat it a little bit. It's not that...
Mom, good morning.
Ooh, good morning, my darling. Let me keep my train of thought. We will come to this part soon. But we have to soften the blow. When you tell someone that their inner conversations, their sticks and stones are creating their outward expression, when you say that to someone, it can be difficult to hear. But when I say it, I say it like this. What did you just say to yourself? And they say, what do you mean? I said, well, you said something to yourself, didn't you? And they say, well, yeah, I did. I said, well, what did you say? And they'll tell me what they say. I said, so did you experience it? What happened after you said it? And they're like, oh my God, you're right. I was driving to work and telling off my coworker. And I got to work and I had to tell them off. And I said, now do you comprehend the power that you hold? And they're like, oh my God. I'm like, yes. So it's not that you're out here in these streets cussing somebody out because you're foolish. That's not what you're doing. You're cussing them out because that's how you've lived your life this whole time. That's how we have all lived our lives this whole time. We've done it that way. So pay attention to the sticks and the stones that you are carrying. Because if you're carrying stones, you're going to have to throw them. And if you're carrying sticks, you're going to have to beat somebody. So practice not carrying those. What do you want to carry instead? Why not rose petals? Walk wherever you're going to walk. Remember Coming to America. And they're just throwing petals, right? Walk like that in your mind. See what happens. I dare you. Little Greta Thunberg it this morning. I dare you. So she says. Practice that. And you will begin. Here's something to make it a little bit easier. Practice sliding into my DMs and telling me about your experience that you had. Angela, oh my God. How did you know that was going to happen? I totally tried it for shits and giggles, and I, I still can't believe it worked. Allow that to be the conversation you want to come and tell me. Change your inner conversation. And then tell me how you're going to rehearse how you're going to tell it to me. And you'll see it unfold for yourself. If you rehearse with the disbelief, I never thought that was possible. What kind of crazy voodoo magic is this? No, my darling, it is not crazy voodoo magic. It is called the law. We've heard it many times. As a man thinketh, therefore he is. Well, you can't be any other thing. That would contradict the law of correspondence. And we cannot break the law. It's unbreakable. We live by it. We're governed by it. So today, that is what I want to remind you of today. If you walk with sticks and stones within your mind, within your inner conversation, if you're always ready for a fight, well, as per the law, you're always going to have to fight. Not because you're being punished, but because you can't break the law. Isn't that nice? Think about it. We walk through the world of man, and we're ever cognizant of the laws we break. But the good news about the laws that govern us, we can't break them. Don't try, for the love of God, on all things. Because the only thing that will be broken, well, is the one trying to break the law. You can't break it. Right? We don't break it. We're governed by it. We live by it. Whether you're doing so with full awareness or you're doing so from a place of not knowing, we always live by way of law. And the way that we're going to test it, because I look forward to you being in my DMs to tell me all about it. Imagine that conversation you're having in your head. If you catch yourself having a conversation that is unsavory, because this is where it all begins. If you catch yourself having a conversation that is unsavory, what does it mean by unsavory? Oh my God, like I totally can't stand you. Oh, look at you. You think you're so cute. Ugh, please. See that kind of conversation? What if you had a different kind of conversation? Wow, it's so good to see you today. Pretend, shall you? Pretend. If you see them, just say, because think about it. If somebody's so used to sticks and stones flying out of your mouth, because you're always ready to fight, how would they respond if you complimented them instead? I dare you to try it. Try it out. They may clutch their pearls and be absolutely speechless. You walk by and say, oh, that color looks nice on you. It's good to see you today. Have a great day. And you walk by and the mouth is hanging open. Wouldn't that be nice? Indeed. Wouldn't you like to experience that part? The sheer surprise on their face? Of course. Test it out for yourself. And then you'll begin to recognize the power that you have. That's why I tell you on a daily basis. We are always either throwing confetti as we walk, or we're throwing pebbles. All because of that inner conversation we are having. So today I strongly encourage you to practice a different way of speaking inside your own mind. Because it may appear to be invisible because I can't hear it at the moment. But I promise you, by way of the law of gender, it does not stay. It does not stay within the confines of your mind, just like Taco Bell does not stay in the confines of your belly. Yes? Trust me on that. This is how it is. So practice. If the problem is the way you talk to yourself, then the solution is the way you speak to yourself. That is where I will leave you this morning. Because you know we're going to hit the bowl on the way out. We always do, don't we? Tonight at 9:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on Fanbase, right here on Facebook and YouTube, we hit the bowl. We play the Tibetan. We're not playing a Tibetan bowl. We're playing a crystal bowl. Because I'm looking at the Tibetan bowl at the moment. But we play the crystal bowl. And you see, the reason why we play the crystal bowl, any bowl for that matter, because of the law of vibration, everything is moving. And the funny thing happens, when you play your favorite song, your body begins to vibrate at the frequency of that song. So if you have a favorite song that you go to lift your mood, what do you think you're doing? You're using the law of vibration. But if you are sad and you play that sad song, what do you think is happening there? The same vibration, yes? So when you play either the Tibetan bowl or the crystal bowl or the hang drum, doesn't matter what you play, influencing your vibration. The law of vibration tells you that everything moves, nothing stands still. That is why your favorite song influences you the way that it does, because now every cell in your body is vibrating at the frequency of your favorite song. So when we play the bowl, the vibration will influence every fiber of your being. Oh, indeed. It will influence every fiber of your being. That's why when I play the bowl, it influences me as well. I'm not exempt from it. Heavens, no. And it is the most beautiful sensation to just lay there and have a sound just envelop your body. That is what it does for us. So, let me set a hand free. I got to put something down, a phone down. And normally I tell everybody, pop over to YouTube. But, if that's an inconvenience, don't fret. You will still hear it through this device. That's what you'll do. So before I hit it, I'm going to say this to you again. Pay attention to the inner conversation you are having. And if your inner conversation consists of sticks and stones, you're ready for a fight. That is what you shall encounter. But if your inner conversation is one of rose petals and tulips and sprinkles and confetti, well then, that is what you will experience. Now I look forward to hearing what your experiment turned out like. If you're so used to cussing somebody out and you see them, you called them. You did. You called them through time and space. And it always happens when you pick up the phone. Oh my God, I was just thinking about you. That is what it is. You call them. You use the law of gender. Every time you think about them, you are projecting masculine. And because they are so used to having an argument with you or some kind of interaction with you, they are open and receptive. And so now you have mentally impregnated them with your conversation so that they're going to be the ones waiting for you. Like Celine Dion says, I'll be waiting for you. Now, that's what she says. So that's what you do. You call them and they come running. Yes, they do. So as we play the bowl, begin to formulate a new conversation in your mind. One moment, please.